Good morning, everyone. I'm here in Denver today in our Denver office with Cathy Covington. And we're here just talking about some of the challenge that we
Mhm.
have when it comes to data and AI readiness. I feel like getting question after question from clients about just the fatigue everybody's feeling about AI. We just saw a study that dropped last week
Mhm.
showing that 95% of AI pilots are failing right now. So I feel like everybody's exhausted. There's a lot of pressure to do the next right thing, but our clients' organizations don't really know how to start. So this is where Hike 2 often jumps in to help. Kathy, do you want to just do a quick intro
Yeah.
and then we can have a bit of a conversation this morning?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. So, I'm Kathy Covington. I'm a senior data consultant here at Hike 2. With my experience, I've worked on a lot of data transformation projects. I've worked on several AI projects where we've had to scale those AI projects to really work for the organization. I've done a lot of work with governance and data quality. So, I'm happy to be here to talk on this topic.
Awesome. Well, how can we really be ready to
Mhm.
trust and use our data?
Yeah. So there's several things that we have to do to establish trust of data. So I think really it starts with the people. So assigning owners to different data sources or different data sets. In an organization, we'll have people that really know the data, but their knowledge lives within their head. It may not live within a data dictionary or a data catalog. So we really have to sit down with those people and, say, what are the different fields that we need to use in this data set? What are the different filters that we need to really report on this data accurately? And then record that in a data dictionary. And then there's different tools that we can start to look at, like Anomalo, that look at the data coming into a system. And we can pick up on, are we getting the correct number of records on a daily basis? So let's say, for example, if we expect 100 records every day from our sales data system and we get two records one day, that system can pick up on if we're getting the correct number of records, or if our average number of sales is $100 and then one day it's $1 million, then we can start looking at that. And then another thing that we can do is look at a single source of truth. So ideally, marketing should not be reporting on sales numbers that are different than finance sales numbers. So, having a business ready data set created that has all of the filters applied, has all the fields that we need to report on this data accurately, and then creating that into a report that we can certify as accurate, and then get that out to the organization and say, this is the report that you should be using going forward. And you shouldn't be looking at any other ad hoc reports from other organizations. And then just beyond that, like, keep an established data quality practice going, keep monitoring going, and make sure that we're getting in data accurately, make sure that we're doing these checks on a constant basis.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, with all the silos out there, how do you start to
Mhm.
break down some of the
Yeah.
data silos?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one because sometimes you'll run into different groups that don't necessarily want to share their data. I know in the past I've worked with finance organizations that are very protective about their data and what they share. And that's justified when we're working with sensitive data. And so with that, we can start establishing governance and looking at security to say, these people should only have access to this data set. We shouldn't be opening our data up to everyone. It should only go to this specific group. And then, we can start small. So, what I like to do is I like to meet with different departments and say, what are the different analytic use cases that you need right now? So, for example, let's say that marketing wants to look at the effectiveness of their campaign in relation to sales. So, did this campaign generate X amount of sales. And with that, you have to combine the data from marketing and from finance. So you really establish those use cases, and then you go to those business owners to say, here's what we want to do. Can you point us in the right direction of what data we need to use? What are the different, fields we need to look at? What are the different filters we need to apply? And then from there, we can look at using different systems. So a huge thing with data silos is that I think the average organization has around 5 different databases that they're using. And so we can look at tools like Snowflake and Databricks to bring all of those sources together. And then we can establish different keys of how we join our data together and then get these unified business ready data sets.
So we're ready, right?
Mhm.
After we've done all this great work, but how can we really be ready to experiment with
Mhm.
and start to deploy
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah, so I mean, it like breaking down data silos, start small. Don't go for it all at once. Don't create an algorithm where you're just, you know, uh, putting it into production for the entire organization. Start with one small use case and then test from there. For example, we looked at survey data recently and we did natural language processing on the survey data to look at customer sentiment. And with that, we really focused on one data field that said, what is your current satisfaction with our company? And then we worked with the owners of that data to say, what do you think about the results that this algorithm is producing? Do you agree with this? Is there anything surprising to you that you may not have thought of before? And keep that human in the loop feedback so that when we're going through this process of creating an algorithm, we're getting feedback from the people that work with this data on a day-to-day process. And if there are issues or if there are errors, as there will inevitably be as we go through this process, we can go back and we can refine and we can make our algorithm better. And so as we do that, as we start to get more comfortable with our algorithm, then we can start to scale it out to other groups and we can have something that is foolproof. And then beyond that, just having a system where we can automate the algorithm. So using something like SageMaker, where we can create our code using AWS pipelines to automate this code, we can have that in place and have a strong infrastructure, as well as just having AI governance. So, with AI governance, we need to make sure that we are staying compliant with the current regulations that are in place, making sure that we're integrating different things like HIPAA. We need to make sure that we're not ingesting sensitive data into our algorithm and we're getting expected results.
And then how like so this is great. This is absolutely
Mm.
fantastic, thinking about how we scale, but then how do we start to
Mm.
empower the people with AI?
Yeah, yeah. People are the center of this. And I think one of the things that people have the most anxiety around AI is they don't understand it. So, a huge thing is just not making AI a black box. Have teaching in place to say, here's the data that we're bringing into this algorithm. Here's how it's working. Make it simple and say, these are the calculations that the algorithm is going through to produce your result. And also frame the story to say this AI tool, this is meant to help you with your job. This isn't meant to take over your job. If anything, it's taking those mundane tasks that you were doing before, and then you can focus on more value added activity. And then, as I mentioned before, the human in the loop experience. So, making sure that people have a say when they're using this AI tool, they can go back and say, these are the things that we're seeing. Here's how we could potentially improve upon this and just make people involved. Let them know what's coming. And then also before, like start small, start with a small subset of people, start with one department and then scale up from there. Make sure that you're getting feedback along the way as you implement this process.
Yes, I really think what we've heard
Mhm,
today is just everybody has the same sort of challenges out
mhm,
there when it comes to data, when it
mhm.
comes to really deploying AI, how we think about
Yeah,
it. So, thank you so much for this
yeah,
time today, and certainly look forward to continuing the conversation.
yeah. Well, thank you for having me.